So Percy and Annabeth have a long and complicated relationship, which isn't news to anyone. And on their many misadventures, there have been multiple occasions where one thought the other was dead or dying, even going back to when they were just 12 years old. Percy has been giving Annabeth heart attack after heart attack for one reason or another, so that's what this video is going to be. Today we're just going to explore every reason why Annabeth is going to have gray hair before she's 30, or more gray hair than she has, at least all of the reasons that are Percy's fault. Basically, we're going to look at every time Percy was either missing, presumed dead, or doing something stupid and or dangerous, and Annabeth was helpless to do anything about it. We won't be spending too much time on instances where they were fighting together, since she had some agency and could help steer the fight in one direction. These are going to be times where she was forced to sit and wait. This one is going to be a bit unique, so be sure to let us know what you think. Even just a like or a quick comment lets us know what kind of content you want to see from us and gives us some insight into how to make our future videos. So with that, let's get started. This concept becomes more interesting when we remember that this boy Percy was unconscious after his fight with the Minotaur, when Annabeth met him for the very first time. Literally the very first time she ever saw him, he was half dead, and it only kept getting worse. She wasn't necessarily worried about Clarice killing Percy, but she was worried about him when Clarice got his hands on him, both with the toilet fiasco and the capture the flag game. But the next time she thought he was in serious danger was probably the Ark. They fought Medusa together, so they were in the trenches side by side. But when the Ark exploded, she had no idea what happened or where Percy was. And those are the kinds of cases that we're going to be focusing on in this video.
Hi, my name's Devin. I'm the writer and editor for these videos. I've never shown my face on this channel before, but I'm from St. Louis. It's pronounced the Arch. Hearing it that way not only got me to do like a face reveal now for this channel, but it did like 1d4 psychic damage. And I just wanted to go ahead and put this in here. Moving on.
If we wanted to count every time they fought together, we certainly could, but we'd be here all day. In St. Louis, however, it's mentioned in The Lightning Thief that they had about a 3-hour stop to see the city. So in less than half a business day, Percy blew up a national monument and made Annabeth think that he was dead for the very first time. She was present for the Denver excursion and the underworld, so those are pretty straightforward. But the next time she thought he was dead would probably be when he is snatched by Scylla in the Sea of Monsters. As a refresher, Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson are aboard the CSS Birmingham with Clarice when Scylla attacks the vessel. And despite his best efforts, Percy is grabbed and hurled up the cliffside while Tyson runs down to fix the engine. The boat explodes and Percy passes out, believing that Tyson has died. And when he comes to, he's on a life raft with Annabeth. Even though we don't see exactly what happened, Annabeth still had to search for him on the life raft and fish him out of the water, and we're not entirely certain how long that took. Regardless, however, she was dealing with the fact that the ship had just blown and that Percy may or may not have been eaten. Not long after this, they wash ashore on Circe's Island, where they're separated yet again, and Percy makes the mistake of being turned into a guinea pig. When Annabeth figures out that something's wrong, she, again, has no idea what happened to Percy or what Circe did with him right out of the gate. And even though she does figure it out eventually, this probably gave her a mini heart attack before solving the problem. They're pretty united for the rest of the Sea of Monsters, and unfortunately, Annabeth doesn't have a huge presence in the Titan's curse, but they may actually play into her favor. After falling off the cliffside at Westover Hall, she's taken captive by Luke in order to draw Percy and Talia out. So the entirety of the Titan's curse could very well count as a time where Annabeth was stressing out over whether or not Percy was dead or alive. She knew that he was coming for her, but she had no idea what he would have to face in the process and if it might get him killed. All she knew is that he was walking headfast into Titan Atlas and the armies of Kronos. So we'll go ahead and count this time as one big heart attack that Percy gave her, even though it took place over the course of an entire novel. She didn't specifically know that he fought the Nemean Lion or had to wrestle Nereus, but she was able to figure out that Dr. Thorne was the Manticore and that the general was Atlas, so we think that's more than enough to qualify. The Battle of the Labyrinth, however, is where it started to get particularly problematic, specifically because their feelings for each other were beginning to get stronger. We get confirmation in the Mark of Athena that she had a crush on him since she was 12, but this is the first time they both started recognizing that they were something more than friends. And furthermore, this was Annabeth's quest. It was her job to lead them through the labyrinth and get them to Daedalus's workshop alive, so anything that happened to any of them was her responsibility. Then Percy blew up Washington State. Remember, Annabeth was already wrestling with Chiron's warning that 4 quest members was a dangerous gamble, and that 3 was a sacred number for a reason. Additionally, she knew that she was destined to lose a love to a fate worse than death, so her anxiety was heightened when she and Percy went to investigate Hephaestus' forge, which had been taken over by the Telchines. All she knew was that the 2 of them went in and only one of them came out. Later, she saw the news of the eruption, and worse than this, she gave up on her quest and went back to camp. She didn't have anything that she could do, which we know is an incredibly difficult feeling for Annabeth to wrestle with, because she always needs to be doing something. So she's sitting at camp, stewing in these emotions, unable to do anything for 2 full weeks, until she's asked to burn his shroud and accept that he's dead. unaware that he's checked in for an extended stay at Calypso's beachside resort of magic servants and limitless food. When he does finally get back, he puts her through the emotional ringer before dodging his emotions and pulling Rachel into the quest. So when the Battle of Manhattan comes around, he's already made her think that he's dead multiple times, and we have a really quick moment that we want to talk about pertaining to the Last Olympian, and it's when she takes the knife for him on the bridge. This moment happens over the course of just a few seconds, but we actually have a full video on what we believe was going through Annabeth's mind when she saw the knife being drawn. This one is a full-length breakdown on exactly how she knew that his Achilles weak point was about to be hit, so we really recommend that you go check out that video too. But here's the long and short of it. Basically, we believe 3 things went through her mind faster than she could consciously register them. The first of which was her battlefield expertise. She intuitively knows that Percy would never put his weak point on his torso or his limbs, so his back is a logical point to pick. Secondly, she knows that the cursed blade is destined to reap a hero's soul, and as far as she knows, the hero of the prophecy was Percy. There's nothing to suggest that the prophecy switches subjects between Percy and Luke, so Annabeth wholeheartedly believes that Percy is going to have his soul reaped by a cursed blade. And finally, she's been waiting for him to die for years. Either he makes it to 16 and dies, or he dies before that. So she's been on a hair trigger looking for instances that are about to kill Percy, since she's hypersensitive to him dying in particular. Again, this entire premise is expanded on in much more detail over in our other video, but we want to count this on our list of times that Annabeth thought Percy was dead, even if it only happened for a quick second. It also resulted in her getting stabbed, so that's fun. Finally, however, after beating the Titans, defeating Kronos, and saving the gods, they're finally allowed to live in peace in the aftermath of the war, for about 10 minutes. That winter, Percy is plucked away from Camp Half-Blood by Hera without any explanation or reason. We know that as soon as Percy went missing, Annabeth turned the world upside down trying to find him, and to this day, this is the longest that they've been apart in a context where Annabeth thinks he's dead or in danger. They've spent school years in different states, but she always knew that he was alright, or at least not in any imminent danger, but this was different. When she met Jason, she had finally had a lead on his whereabouts, but it wasn't until the next summer that she could finally get out there and reunite with him. Throughout the Mark of Athena, they don't separate too much until Annabeth goes off on her own quest to find the Athena Parthenos in Rome, but this time, the roles are reversed. She's not necessarily concerned about him since he's with the rest of the 7. But if you guys want another one of these videos that goes the other direction and talks about all the heart attacks Annabeth gave to Percy, then be sure to let us know. We'd love to do that one as well. Once she finds the Athena Parthenos, however, a chasm opens down into Tartarus, and Percy and Annabeth take a one-way tumble into the deepest, darkest pit in existence. They are together throughout their excursion, but there are plenty of points where she absolutely believes that Percy is dead or dying. Before Rob the Titan shows up, their rematch with the Ampusai is looking bleak. But the most heart-wrenching scene is in the forest of the Eri, because it happens twice back-to-back. When she kills one of the Eri, she's cursed with blindness, and believes that Percy has abandoned her since the Eri she killed was cursed by Calypso. Once the curse is broken, however, she sees just how many injuries Percy has stacked onto himself just to save her. This is probably the closest to death Percy has been, and Annabeth couldn't do anything but sit by and watch as even Bob couldn't heal him. They're not technically separated, but this is absolutely heart attack worthy, and the sense of dread that she's feeling as she trudges through Tartarus definitely qualifies for this list. After this, they make it past Ackley's, through the Mansion of Night, and into the Doors of Death before promptly passing out at Hazel's feet. But Percy is not done giving this poor girl grief. As soon as he gets back, they meet Carter and Sadie Kane, and Percy hosts an Egyptian god. Yes, she's right there, but remember, from her point of view, the only person that she's ever seen host an immortal was Luke, and we all know how that turned out. In her mind, she's watching Necbet do the same thing to Percy that Kronos did to Luke, and again, she's helpless to do anything about it. She just has to hope that he'll be able to separate himself from Necbet when he needs to. Then later, we get to the college admissions series. The stakes are notably lowered, which works for what that story is trying to do. But there is a shared understanding between them and the Chalice of the Gods. They mention that luck can only stretch so far, and one day, something will get them. So when Percy is wrestling with Garrus, she is again unable to do anything, despite knowing that Percy can't do anything to actually beat him. The bet is that if Garrus wrestles Percy to the ground, Percy dies, straight up. Annabeth is smart enough to know that this isn't a fair fight, so she has to sit by and rely on Percy to come up with something despite that being her domain. And luckily for her, he is able to problem solve. The nagging idea that their luck is not infinite, however, is difficult for them to wrap their heads around. But even though Annabeth's streak of gray hair has faded, we are confident that Percy will give her more in due time. As we said though, this was a bit of a different video, so be sure to let us know if this is something you want us to do more with, or what you'd like to see from the channel. We're working on some of the suggestions that we've gotten lately, so if you left a comment requesting a video, rest assured it's in the works. But keep letting us know what you want to see. But that's our breakdown on the most notable times that Percy was doing something stupid or dangerous, and Annabeth couldn't do anything but wait. Were there any major ones that we missed? As always, we love this series, we love talking about this series, and we'd love to have you join in the conversation down below. Take care, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.